Welcome back to the Black Lion Blueprint, the podcast for fighters who want to train smart, recover better, and show up strong, both physically and mentally. I'm Coach Frederick, and today we're talking about something that many people ignore, which is purpose. You can have all the motivation in the world, but if what you're doing isn't aligned with why you're doing it, eventually you burn out. I've seen it both in myself and in fighters that I've worked with over the years. So today I'm going to talk about what it means to train with purpose, why that alignment matters more than effort, and how you can start building a foundation that lasts. So, as always, I'll be looking at my notes. So, if you're watching this, you'll see me looking down from time to time. And if you're listening to this, there may be some pauses, but that is me just making sure that I stay on track and I don't ramble too much. Because, as you may have seen on the first episode, I can ramble, but we're going to try and keep it on point today. So, we're going to dive right in. So, you can train hard and you can be very consistent, but if the reason you're doing it isn't aligned with something real, you'll fall off. There's been plenty of times where I decided I wanted to train for the specific goal and it did not align with me specifically. It was just something that was already attainable and I saw people getting notoriety for that specific thing and I thought it would bring me more potential credibility in my coaching profession at the time. So I decided I wanted to try and pursue that. And of course, eventually like I said, I burned out. It was harder to really keep up with it because the purpose behind it was driven by insecurity, ego, around just my ability to do my job, essentially, and that I had to prove my worth in my job based off of me accomplishing these physical feats or whatnot. Sometimes those thoughts still creep in now as a coach, but I always bring it back to no, I've helped these people achieve these goals, and I have that behind me in order to acknowledge the fact that I know what I'm doing, basically. But I had to realign that and understand that the purpose behind what I'm doing is that I want to help people live the best quality life they can and achieve the things that they want to achieve in their life through whatever medium, which this medium is physical, such as fighters training to be the best fighter that they possibly can be in order to achieve their goals with this career field. So with that in mind, it just makes me think back to whenever I ask or when I'm working with the fighter, I always ask them what their goal is. What do they eventually want to accomplish with this? And that really kind of gives me an indication. Now, sometimes I can kind of see that when they say certain things like, okay, I want to, make it to the UFC. I'm just like, okay, cool, got it. So the game plan is the other thing. Like, what are the resources that you have available to yourself? And then, like, why do you specifically want to make it to that? You know what I mean? Like, there's I want to prove to myself that I can, accomplish this great feat of my life. Or I was always told that I wouldn't be here, or I just want to make it to this level because I can have the most impact in that. Like those things right there have some really, really deep meaning. And other people could just be like, it's the money. Now, like, if you want to make money, you can make money in so many different ways in that. And make really good money in other ways as well, comparatively speaking. But I'm not knocking that, but saying that, I want to make money. If another opportunity shows up that you can make money in, are you just going to jump ship and then go to that and be like, oh, this is too hard for me? I'm just going to go over here. So it just goes back to the fact that, the purpose behind what you're doing will show up in how long you stay with it and the longevity that you have, when you're pursuing what you're trying to pursue with your performance. And one of the key quotes to remember is motivation, it can fade, but purpose sustains. Whenever you have motivation day to day, when you're trying to make it through your training and you're just like, oh, okay, well, let me listen to this video of this person, hyping me up and telling me to do this and do that and that I'm weak or something like that. But purpose, you don't need that motivation if you're actually living on purpose with the activities that you're doing because you're living in alignment. You don't have to force it because you, in a sense, you feel like this is what I have to do. There is no other option. Even if you do have other options, you feel like this is what I have to do. There is no other option. I don't need anybody else to motivate me or try to push me to do more. I'm doing everything that I possibly can to achieve the goal that I set out for myself. Now, if you didn't set out that goal for yourself, then yeah, maybe you might need that motivation. If you're doing something that doesn't align with you deep down in your heart, then yeah, you may need some motivation. Now, I'm not knocking motivation for motivation's sake because sometimes, we may need a little bit of motivation to get us to a certain point to find that purpose. But again, when you know that you're in alignment when you find your purpose, you know that you're in alignment when you don't need that motivation on a consistent basis to keep you going. And that, kind of leads into just we need something deeper than surface level goals. So when we're setting out these goals, it's just like, oh, I just want to get stronger, or I just want to, like I said before, make money. The surface level goal, again, that could be a catalyst to push us in a certain direction, but it is not the goal that has a deeper meaning. Something that has a deeper meaning is, oh, I want to make impact. Okay, that can be surface level, and you can make impact in any sort of way. But let's just say this is a skill set that you do have, and you realize that you can capitalize on this skill set in order to make the impact that you want. Or it's in a specific field, like if, okay, you want to have an anti-bullying initiative, and in this area, this is the perfect area to reinforce self-defense, and people will take you and your credibility behind that into consideration. So it's a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be so complicated. I know I may sound like I'm making it complex and that you need to really sit down. Sometimes people do, and really reflect to get an idea of what they want to do and moving forward with purpose. But you'll understand that if you're constantly thinking about changing up, or you need motivation, or you want to try and shift over and go this way or shift over and go that way, and you're constantly doing that, something isn't lining up. So, and that leads me into everything feels just harder and more exhausting and easily fragile. Your will can be broken in this area if you decide that you don't want to go forward with it, or you're not, this isn't aligned with your purpose and what you want to accomplish in life. And it took me a while to really figure out the path that I was going to take in order to accomplish my purpose. And really it's just the medium that you choose that can change up so often. But I think once you have that base foundation of, I want to help people, live the best quality of life that they possibly can, and I want to help them with their health and their longevity or their performance outcomes that helps them live their life to the highest potential in this specific area, that base foundation is generally help. So you just have to find your medium. And I think the biggest thing to go off of is how much experience do you have in a certain area? What skills do you bring to the table? And it's not about allowing somebody else to say, oh, you're really talented in this, or you're very skilled in this areas, you should probably do this. And you could take that under consideration. But at the same time, that actually, now that I think about it, that actually happened to me. And, I took that under consideration, and I went down a route of Olympic weightlifting and trying to go down that path. But, I tried to do it without a coach, and, I didn't get to where I wanted to get to. Once again, ego kind of got in the way of that whole entire thing, and I didn't take it as seriously as I should have or would have liked to looking back. But that being said, I took into consideration, somebody said, hey, you would be really good, but you have to, the key thing that he said was, but you have to love it, or you have to really enjoy doing it. And I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, I enjoy it. And I really did like it, and I enjoyed it, and I researched and I studied and I trained. It's very, very hard for it. But there was a lot of things that didn't line up around it that I really didn't take into consideration as well. But yeah, without that alignment, everything feels harder and more exhausting. So, really take those things in consideration on a day-to-day basis as you continue to move forward with, what you set out to do with your goals. So, some of the common problems that I see when it comes to this malalignment in training is just you're trying to train or you're training just to keep up with others, right? It's just like, okay, this person is here, or I need to like keep training in order to keep up with them. That's like, okay, you're basically living off of them. Like you're following in someone else's footsteps in a way that has nothing to do with what you want to accomplish. Um, it's like you don't even have your own path. Now, again, this can kind of lead to the catalyst that, you know, makes you want to accomplish a certain thing, but it's not the thing that's going to sustain you. And then another issue is just like doing what worked for someone else, but not for you. That's a trap that I fell into heavily because I didn't really have that guidance. And in a lot of instances, I really didn't take a lot of people's guidance under consideration. For me, I had to see someone actually walking the walk and talking the talk in order for me to even take into consideration what they're saying. So, with that being in mind, I was pretty much thinking that I needed to do what this person did in order to get to where they are, instead of thinking like, okay, what can I take from this person's success that may apply to my life and allow me to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, instead of being like, oh, okay, I need to do it exactly like they did it, because that's not how my life is set up. That's not how my brain actually operates and works. So I need to take that, let's just say, framework that they have going on and shift it to where I can make it work for my life. And now that's the place that I'm in. And it is empowering when I tell you, like, it is very empowering because I'm taking a framework, a concept, and seeing how I can like fit it into my life. So I'm taking pieces from all of these success stories that I've seen and I've heard and all the things that I've accomplished and thinking about like, okay, what can I take away from this moment in my life that I can continue to use moving forward? So really, if you think about it, you have to kind of X out the fact that, okay, this person accomplished this, I'm going to try and do it exactly that way. Think of it more so as like, what are the clues that they're leaving behind that I can pick up on and potentially try to apply that to my life and see how it fits in. And then, of course, if it doesn't fit in, just discard it and then try move on and go to the next thing. So yeah, to that point, the next thing is just kind of like feeling unmotivated and thinking something's wrong with you. So if you're feeling unmotivated, again, like I said, if you feel unmotivated, you need motivation, then you may not be in alignment with what you need to do. That's like going to a job that you know has no other purpose than to pay your bills. Now, people who are in, a very unfortunate financial situation may need to work that job, and the purpose behind it, they got to feed them kids, they got to pay off their student loans, they have to do a lot of things, and that can drive them to keep, going to that job. If they decide that they want to fulfill their role, I think is the biggest key. Fulfill their role as a parent, as a spouse, whatever it may be. So it's that deeper meaning behind it, right? It's not just the money, it's what that money symbolizes and allows them to do or show up as in their life. It allows them to show up as the father or as the mother or as the guardian or the brother or the sister that they want to show up as. Being in a position in a certain career field can open doors or make an impact in a community that may not have seen that before in their lifetime. And that's the catalyst for a lot of others to actually explore and reach out and try to get into that career field as well. So when you feel unmotivated and you think something's wrong, understand that it may just be that alignment, but also try and grasp onto your deeper meaning behind like why you're continuously doing it. And if you have the opportunity and if you have the bandwidth, you try and think about how you can pivot and move into something that can align with you better and still fulfill that need that you have at the current moment. And then the final problem is just kind of shifting focus or programs because there's no specific direction. With a lot of the fighters that I started training and I've trained in the past, it was I'm just going to do this and I'm just going to work hard with this strength and conditioning work and just, run myself ragged. And that's going to prove that I can take it or I can handle whatever comes my way. But really, it's just beating them down to the point to where now they can't even do their skill work as effectively as they would have, or they end up getting an overuse injury, and now they can't even train the skill that they need to be training in order to get better at their specific sport. So it can be a very vicious cycle if you're not training with intention. So one of the things that I often do, and I said this earlier, I ask, like, what do you actually want long term? And what is that goal? Because I need to know the direction that you're heading in so we can really game plan and have a realistic look at, okay, what are the resources that we have here to accomplish that goal? Let's work back and see what needs to be done to accomplish that. Let's have a long game view of this. Where are you right now? And how far out is that? What are the clues that other successful people that have achieved that specific goal left behind? What did they leave behind? And how can we take those clues and apply it to your situation? These are all the things that need to go into that bucket of what do you actually want long term? You have to consider everything. Now, things will change up. But if you consider everything and you have like a realistic layout of, there is a path for me, right? You see that there is a path. People have left clues. You see that for you in your situation that is potential there. Then you can accomplish that, right? Now, it doesn't mean you'll get there. It doesn't mean you will accomplish that. It's not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed, right? But you do have a path. And now we can put the things in place in order to progress and step forward in that direction. If we don't have that, it's just like, okay, you're being naive to the point to where it's just like, okay, you're 45 and you're just like, yeah, I want to, make it to the UFC or something like that. That's like a very, very crazy situation or scenario that I just named there. But it is like thinking about what's the situation? Like really, really dig down and see like what your situation actually is and what do you need to do in order to accomplish what you need to accomplish, basically. So just being a realist. I always tell people like I'm an optimistic realist. So I'm hopeful, but I am real. And that's why I said that, nothing is guaranteed. But if we have a clear path, if we have a path to succeed, then it is possible. So leading into the next point of like when purpose is clear, you can scale effort and know when to push or pull. So if you have that long-term view, right? And let's just say you're an amateur fighter. And let's just say you got this like nagging thing, this little injury that, is kind of keeping you from training at the moment. At this point, it might be good to pull back a little bit, not push through, right? Because you haven't even made it to the pro ranks yet. You need to make sure that you are as healthy as possible in the lower levels right now, and that your body is built up enough in order to sustain you through that pro level. And if you're at a pro regional level and you want to make it to that high level, are you going to keep pushing through that nagging injury? No, because once you have to show up to, let's just say, that pro level event, then you may not be in your peak shape because you allowed yourself to continue to push through that moment. But if you get the call like, hey, on short notice, I need you to be here, and you have something going on, you push, because this is your opportunity to make it to where you want to go. And then you can figure it out from there. But you don't want to miss out on that opportunity potentially. But you always have to consider your situation as well. But again, when the purpose is clear, you can make that decision with better thinking behind it, instead of being like, yeah, I'm just going to keep pushing through these injuries all the way from the amateur up into the pro level. And then by the time you actually get an opportunity, your body is beat down and you don't even last at the pro level. So this is specifically for my amateur fighters, and like low level regional fighters that are pro fighters. You have to take your body into consideration and the overarching goal. Do you want a long career, or do you want to just say, hey, I made it there, didn't last, and that's it? Purpose allows imperfect days to still matter. So when you have purpose behind it, imperfect days still matter. So let's just say you go into a training day and it's not your best training day. It's okay, because you still understand that you're moving the needle forward. You learn from that. You can look at, okay, what didn't I do to make sure that I'm prepared as possible for my sessions? When you have that alignment, you're not looking at, oh, like, did I make the wrong decision? You're not doubting yourself. You know exactly what you need to do and why you're doing it. Purpose brings patience. You're not chasing quick hits. You're building something real. Like I said before, now you have the long-term view in your head, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to push through this. I'm going to progressively build my skill set. I'm going to progressively build my strength. I'm not going to try and do it all in a month. I'm not going to try and get more enduring or stronger or better at all these skills all at once. I'm going to perfect these things. So once I get to that point, I know that I have this down and I have that base under me in order to sustain me when I get to where I want to get to. So the biggest thing is now, like with the fighters that I work with, a lot of them are understanding that, hey, like I've really found like my rhythm now, and I'm trying to instill in a lot of them that, look, this is a longer process than that, especially with the strength conditioning stuff. Your body doesn't just change and adapt on the drop of a dime. It adapts over time. So if we're trying to work through an injury, understand that it's going to take time. That healing process takes time. If we're trying to build strength in a certain area, your body takes time to adapt to that. If you're trying to build some more muscle mass, your body takes time to put on that mass. If you're trying to build up your cardiovascular system, your endurance, your body takes time to build up those characteristics. If you're trying to build more power, you need a strong base of strength, which will take time to be able to express power fully. If you're lacking mobility, you need to take time to restore that range of motion. And if that range of motion has been something that's been an issue for a long time, it may take you a while to actually accomplish getting rid of that restriction. So you have to understand that all these things take time. So that's what I'm trying to instill in a lot of them now, especially a lot of the younger ones who just, they have a lot of energy, and that's good, and they feel like they're unbreakable, and that's really good. But I want them to put that effort into something that is clear and more intentional. They have more intention behind it. I'll put it that way. Instead of just like, oh, I'm just going to do work. I'm trying to make sure that they're doing work, but putting in high amounts of intent and effort into the right work. And all this may seem like very dramatic right now, but, purpose doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. You just have to be honest with yourself. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm about, is being honest with myself and, what I want to accomplish in my life, where I am, what I have available to me, and what I'll be able to accomplish. And that's what I try. I don't try to downplay anybody's potential ever, or what they can accomplish ever, because I don't hold the key to what they'll be able to accomplish in their lifetime. But I do like to lay out, hey, like, let's think about a game plan. Hey, let's see what it actually takes to get there if we have a roadmap there. Let's try and be as realistic as possible, but then still, knowing with that realism, have some hope that we will get there and we will accomplish what we want to accomplish. So, with all that said, I would ask you to ask yourself, why am I training right now? Like, why am I training right now? Is this aligned with what actually matters to me or just what looks good on paper? You can fake purpose, but you can't, you can't fake purpose, but you can find it. So, with all that said, I'm not just here to train bodies. I'm here to train people with direction, with clarity, with real purpose behind what they're doing. That's what leads to long-term performance and fulfillment. So I'll leave you with that. As always, I appreciate you being here. And if you feel like there's someone who can benefit from what you just listened to or watched today, then send it over to them. And I very much appreciate you as always, and I'll see you in the next one.